What's going on, guys? I hope you are having a fantastic day. Let's get ahead, jump straight into it. Today's topic, we're going to be going over the auctions of the week, as well as, and by auctions of the week, I don't mean my auctions. I'm actually talking about auctions that I either lost or auctions that I won, which this week I didn't win any auctions, thankfully, because we just spent a ton of money on our stackable washer dryer that we just got that's brand new, and I'm very excited about it. It's the sleekest thing since I pretty much bought the house. It's one of the nicest things we've had, and Diana's really happy about it. But I really wish it would have been one of these cards. But anyways, we're gonna go and do some of the things I didn't win. We're also gonna talk about the Japanese vintage market, right? We're gonna talk about PSA in Japan. We're gonna talk about why all that matters, and I'm gonna theorize and speculate and rant and ramble like I typically do. So hopefully you guys get a kick out of that. But this video is hopefully going to be informative, shed some light on a market that I think a lot of people feel is inflated or hype. Even though I feel like a lot of the collectors buying the cards that I'm buying right now are buying them because they genuinely want them. I don't think a lot of them are just buying them over the hype. I like to think a lot of the hype died out. But maybe there's still a hype bubble and it's affecting the market. But let's go ahead and go over this. Super excited to go over these numbers. There's so much opportunity out there. So hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties. I've got my laptop flipped, and I am just very comfortably going to be looking at these numbers, and we're going to be talking about some of the auctions that I lost this week. One of them I'm very unhappy about, and you guys will understand why in a minute. But okay, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. So before I go into these auctions, I want to mention something. In 2018, Japan got its first PSA office. Now, this doesn't mean that they were grading cards and encapsulating them in Japan. They were doing this by getting all the cards, sending them to the States and California, I believe, and then having them graded and shipped back. The turnaround time was terrible. The cost wasn't that great, but it was a step in the right direction. Now, July 2023, we fast forward 5 years, and finally now they're encapsulating and grading cards in Japan. Now, I've loosely talked about how I think we're going to get a lot of Japanese cards flooding the market because now there's a grading center in Japan, and they're wheeling and dealing now. But what I didn't really understand was when it originally opened up, when their offices opened up in Japan, and when did that change from encapsulating and grading cards, right? There was a huge bubble the last year, and still right now, there's a huge bubble of Japanese where everyone was pushing and selling Japanese. And I couldn't, for the life of me, wonder where it came from. I know a lot of people love Japanese. I love Japanese too. Do I collect Japanese mainly? No, I don't. I collect English because I'm an amateur collector at heart, and I just want to be able to read the cards. And I like the yellow border, but that's not really enough of a reason for me to just collect English. Sometimes in Japanese, there's better print quality. They don't have the print issues that we had in the US, like with sets like EX Deoxys and Team Rocket Returns, and various other EX sets, including some vintage era sets when Watsu was printing the cards. So let's just keep it at that. Japanese quality is a lot better, okay? Some of the cards were exclusively from Japan, and some of the gold stars can only be exclusively from Japan. Why is this relevant, Orion? We're going to be talking about gold stars today because of the auctions of the week. And then third, for whatever reason, even though people can't read Japanese, the pricing is much less. There's far more availability. Usually when people can't find the English arts that they love, they go to Japanese, and I think that's a lot of the reason why people are getting into Japanese is because it's getting very hard to find English grails and nice English vintage cards and high grades. It's getting harder to find those now that English has gotten 20 years old, but we've had PSA in the States since you can remember, right? So we've always been grading. A lot of the cards have been graded that are out there, but there are still plenty left to be graded. Whereas in Japan, huge difference there. They just started encapsulating. They just started grading on site there. I think the bulk is still being shipped to California, but huge difference. Basically, summer 2023, they had started grading, which it's all making sense now in my head. I never really understood why everyone was on the Japanese bubble. Now I get it. Japanese got extremely popular the last couple years. Now there are going to be OG vintage collectors, and I don't want to disrespect you guys. You guys have been collecting Japanese from the get-go, and you love and appreciate Japanese. But a lot of people are getting into Japanese now for a completely different reason. Let's be honest here. The Japanese arts are more available. They are cheaper. The quality might be better, but the quality can be bad too. As they are getting flooding of all of these new Japanese vintage grail type cards, and I say grail type cards because I feel like a lot of those are going to slip into the system and get a higher grade than they probably deserve. Now, a lot of people would think, oh, well, it's Japan, they're going to have higher standards, you would think, especially with the print quality being a much higher standard. They're going to be way harsher on grading. Not exactly what I'm learning. I'm learning a lot of cards that have been graded in Japan and the US. I'm having a lot of people reach out to me that are like, I love my collection so far. It's been mostly Japanese, but you're definitely seeing some pitfalls of PSA in Japan as well. And right, this is a human run enterprise. There is going to be human error. So there's every reason for them to make mistakes and have stuff slip under the radar the same way it does in the US. We get cards all the time. One card that I messed up on recently in my video, and I just brain farted and said it was a CGC 10 Charizard, first edition Charizard that got trimmed. It was not. It was a PSA 10 Charizard that got trimmed, and I don't know how I messed that up. Anyways, the point being is that PSA makes massive mistakes, right? PSA allowed a first edition Charizard to slip under the radar that was trimmed and basically falsified, fraudulent, tampered with, whatever you want to call it. They allowed that to happen. So it's no mystery, right? PSA in America, it's just as bad probably as it could or would be in Japan. I'm very skeptical about a lot of the high graded cards I'm seeing come from Japan and being graded and kind of flooding the market now on eBay. And so these auctions are really important and kind of tie all this in together. But I think a lot of people are going with Japanese is because it's a stupid easy money play. I think at the end of the day, amateur buyers are going to be buying. They're going to be buying most of the time. I would think like buyers and sellers are going to be doing Japanese because they're going to go, the price is way better. The grades are way higher. This is a no-brainer. Whereas a lot of amateur collectors, I think, are going to stick with English because it's what we know. It's what we grew up with. It's what we're familiar with. And that is where a lot of the hype is. But now the hype is also shifting into Japanese. It's been shifting into Japanese, but I think more than ever now, I am seeing so many cards flood onto the market that are Japanese cards, that are grail cards. You guys know I've been on my journey to collect all of the Gold Star Pokemon cards. Just for anybody that's popped into this channel, I know you guys are like, oh God, Orion's gonna do it again. He's gonna pull out his Gold Stars that he's so proud of again. Okay, here's my fat stack of Gold Stars. Guys, quiet! Quiet! Sorry about that, guys. We have a pit bull that's really loud, and then we've got little yapper Maltese. Anyways, these are my Gold Star cards, right? I am 7 cards away from completing the entire English Gold Star set. Most of them are PSA 9, but we've got my Beckett 9, Rayquaza in the front. But just to break this down, we're just going to use Rayquaza because it's the first one there. So this is a Pokemon Gold Star card. These are extremely valuable, extremely rare, and highly sought after. This is the English variant, right? The Japanese variant has a silver border, which to me honestly looks kind of nice. I think it looks funky to a lot of people, but it doesn't look funky to me. I honestly could care less what the border looks like. If the grade is higher and the quality is there, then yeah, I would love to own these cards in Japanese as well. I think for my purposes, I'm too deep down the rabbit hole with English to ever entertain collecting Japanese. But for me to be an amateur buyer and seller, to, you know, just to say that like I would like to own these cards, but really they're great for sales. To get them for a deal and to get them on a budget would be great for me. But I also think that a lot of people could get into the Japanese market because there's a lot of value to be had there. Anyways, this is what a gold star. This is one of the gold stars that, one of the features is that the artwork kind of comes out of the picture frame, as well as the most notable part, which I'm trying to get here on camera, is this gold star right here. We got this gold star right here. That is kind of the, some people probably think it's silly. That's like, why are people want these gold star Pokemon cards so badly? It's not the gold star. It's really about rarity. This one's really cool because it has a hollow orb right in his mouth. This is probably my favorite gold star still, just because that hollow orb is absolutely phenomenal in Rayquaz's mouth. Now, of course, that is just a hollow pattern difference, but okay, so there it is. There's my gold star cards. I'm going to be talking a lot about gold stars because they are awesome. All right, now let's get into it. Here we go. We're going to talk about the auctions now. Orion, why did you have to spend 10 minutes talking about all this other crap? Because it matters, because we're going to be talking about the numbers here, and you have to understand that the reason I think the prices are much lower is one, because there's way more Japanese supply out there. I don't think it's just because Japanese is less sought after. That is total BS in my opinion. I think it has to do with the fact that, and right now there are, I believe, less Japanese gold stars out there in a PSA 9, a PSA 10. I think there's less out there than English. So I want to get ahead of that because I don't think, based on the populations of these cards, that basically Japanese is it's higher pop. I think that Japanese is probably even lower pop, but I think that that's about to change with the grading center recently opened up for encapsulation in Japan, and a lot of this stuff still has to boil up to the surface and be found. But I think we're going to see a lot more auctions like this, but these are some crazy auctions. And I've been seeing some of these cards available on Z&G Emporium's eBay in a PSA 10. All right, Orion, let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, so we have, the first one is a Japanese first edition. And now here's another thing. First edition is supposedly printed more than the unlimited editions. I don't know why that is. It literally makes no sense to me. It's kind of backwards from the English market. For whatever reason, English market, first edition makes way more sense. It's the first wave of products. They have that special stamp with the 1 on it. There's going to be less of them out there. In Japanese, it seems to be the opposite, that there's a lot of first edition cards that were printed in surplus, and that the unlimited versions, they were less of. So it actually makes the unlimited pops lower, thus rarer. All right. It's kind of confusing. It's kind of weird, but just bear with me on this because it's really, really cool. All right. So for reference, Gold Star Groudon. I'm going to grab my Groudon just so you guys can know what I'm talking about. Here's Gold Star Groudon right here. Here's my English copy of Gold Star Groudon. He's awesome. It's in a PSA 9, okay? PSA 9 ran me about $1,200, okay? Gold Star, PSA 10 Groudon in Japanese, first edition, PSA 10, auction ended for Probstein at $1,700. You might say, well, that's still a lot of money. Guys, this is insane value right here. Insane value. Whether you want to be a flipper, call me a hype beast for hyping these up in Japanese. I just think this is really important to cover because these cards aren't very easy to get your hands on, and the fact that they're cheaper and more available in Japanese means that it's a chance for a lot of collectors to get their hands on these cards if they aren't able to get them in English. And this isn't a thing of like, if you can't get it in English, then you might as well get it in Japanese. No, I would honestly, there are Japanese cards that I would love to have. I actually put a bid in on one of these. I put bids on all of them, but I put a serious bid on one of these, but we're going to get into that in a second. So it sold for $1,700. Guys, to put this into perspective, a PSA 10 went for $500 more than my PSA 9. That's crazy. Typically, you know, you look at PSA 10 and for Groudon, and Groudon is $5,000 at the very least, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 for a PSA 10 Groudon. So $1,700 is probably less than half the price of what you would have to pay to get that card in English in a PSA 10. So try wrapping your head around that. It's crazy. There's crazy good value, crazy good deals to be had. And there's a reason that Z&G Emporium is buying these cards and selling them on their eBay, not just auctioning them, but selling them on their eBay. And that's most likely on consignment for other people. But I could definitely see him dabbling in buying these cards to flip because the value is there and because the money is there, right? It's great either as a collector for your private collection. If you like Japanese, this is a no-brainer move right here. These cards are probably going to continue to go up in value. I can't say that about a lot of products in the Pokemon hobby, but ever since getting into Gold Stars, which I was kind of reluctant to do. I always saw them. I always thought they're kind of cool, but I also thought they're way out of my budget. I'm never going to be able to afford these, and they're kind of goofy looking. I still think a lot of them are kind of goofy looking, but I do like trying to complete them as a set, and I will say the Gold Star Pikachu and the Gold Star Rayquaza, for me, are some of the most badass looking cards. Okay, so 1,700, PSA 10, Groudon, wild auction. Coming up next, I did put a serious bid on this, but I was busy. I was working heavily this weekend. We had 3 massive back-to-back events. Not to brag, but I slang about like 100 plus cocktails by myself one of the nights. So that was pretty incredible. I'm pretty proud of myself. But this is also why I spend a lot of money on things like jewelry and my cars and Pokemon cards, because I work really, really hard at the bar, running the bar, serving people, being in the service industry. So it's important for me to kind of work hard and play hard, buy the things that make you happy. Anyways, getting into this, this card is outstanding. I would love to have this card in a PSA 10. Let's see, where's my copy? I'm trying to get a copy here to reference for you guys. All right, here it is. All right, so here's my PSA 9 Gold Star Gary. Absolutely stunning. Mine has a slight print line in it, but it doesn't bother me. It's an extremely clean copy. Okay, PSA 9 ran me $2,800. I actually got that from a friend locally who said after he sold that card, he was probably never going to get another one. And if he did, he would agree to do a trade because mine has a print line. But honestly, I love this card more and more every day. I don't think I'll probably ever even sell it or trade it. But yeah, being one of my first like epic gold stars, it's incredible. But okay, 2,800 PSA 9. PSA 10 and this English Gold Star Gyarados goes for about $10,000 to $12,000. Okay, guys, this gets crazy. I did put a bid on this. I actually really did want this card. But Japanese first edition Gold Star Gyarados PSA 10 Probstein's auction again ended $2,382, about $2,400. That's a ridiculously good price and good value on a card of that caliber, right? We're talking about the card being literally a fifth of the price of its English variant, and it's in PSA 10. It's essentially a perfect card, even though that the perfect card doesn't really exist. I just think it's amazing, some of these deals in Japanese, and I rarely get excited about Japanese, but I knew that I was going to cover these auctions because we just covered some English Gold Star auctions last week. Now, I'm not always going to be talking about auctions with Grail cards. I want to start looking at other products and other vintage sets and look at some cool auctions, mainly with first edition cards, because I think there's much more excitement there and rarity there. And I want to talk about, big auctions. I want to talk about expensive auctions for the most part. But these cards are way more affordable than the English counterpart would be. And that's kind of my point here is if you're interested in gold stars, maybe Japanese is, a good direction you could go in. It's something I would consider, but mainly as buying and selling. My collection is pretty much staying English. But okay, next up we have... Yeah, that 2,400 basically for that card is ridiculous. Okay, next up, we've got Kyogre, and this is my PSA 9 Kyogre. Again, guys, this is just for reference because I'm not really tech savvy and I don't do screen shares and stuff like that. So just bear with me. Most of you know what I'm talking about. If you're in the hobby long enough, you know what cards I'm talking about, but I'm trying to reference them because I do have a lot of these cards that I still buy and look at and watch auctions on. Okay, I got that one for $1,200. I got that one for $1,200. I actually have one listed on eBay for $100 more than that too. So I think it's a pretty good price, and I think these cards are going to start moving up in value. But it doesn't even matter because I wouldn't even really make anything off the card that I have on eBay. It's kind of ridiculous how undervalued some of them are. All right, first edition PSA 10 Gold Star Kyogre ended at $14.57. That is nuts, guys. I paid $1,200 for my 9 Japanese PSA 10, went for $257 more. That's nuts. Okay, Kyogre in English in a PSA 10 would run more like $5-6 grand, maybe $3 or $4 grand if you can find it through the right person. One thing I am learning a lot more recently is that there's no rush, right? These cards, they're going to pop up. More stuff is going to pop up. I've gotten super picky with what cards I buy. And even if I can afford the card at the time, which the last auction that I didn't win today, I could have easily afforded that card. But I chose to sit out on it because the price really wasn't a price where like I was just absolutely killing it, right? It would have been better as a card to flip. Anyways, we'll get to that. So yeah, this PSA 10 for $14.57, that's crazy. That's crazy. And honestly, with these prices, if you are going to buy Japanese, I highly recommend just going with the 10s. Now, I do have a theory, though. All these 10s just popping up onto the market, I have a theory that they were overgraded by the Japanese grading center, and that the grading center in Japan, because of the premiums that PSA has, they're going to get a lot of money coming in from overgrading a lot of cards that are going to come in Japanese. I think that eventually we're going to see bulk being added, and you're going to see the same effect with Japanese kind of bulk tier. But right now, these Grail cards coming in and flooding the market in PSA 10, I think it's a no-brainer to try and go for them. But something just feels a little fishy to me. Why so many in a 10 popping up? Why so cheap? And it also is kind of like, I feel like more of these are going to pop up and the prices are going to come down. So while I'm excited about these auctions, would I recommend you to buy for these prices? Yes and no. Yes, because I think they're good relative to what I understand right now, relative to the information that I know right now, my limited knowledge in the scope of this hobby and these cards. In the future, maybe 6 months to a year, we could see way more of these flooding the market. Now, there are exclusions like the Umbreon and Espeon from the Play series. I don't have those in English, so I can't reference them to you right now. And I don't have those in Japanese, but they are very expensive. We're talking like $40, $50, $100,000 cards in a PSA 10 in Japan. They were exclusively holos printed in Japan. We did not get that in the US. So I think that's why there's a huge price discrepancy there. And a part of me is actually kind of thankful for it because you know what? A PSA 9 Espeon in Japanese, Grogu, Pete at Grogu loves cards. He has one up on eBay right now. It's $40,000. I can get that card, PSA 9 in English, for $4 grand. No, it's not holo, but it fits with my collection. It's way cheaper. So sometimes I'm actually thankful for it. But some cards in Japanese that are also more valuable are the legendary dogs, which I do have those, Entei, Suicune, and Raikou. We got a metric boatload of those printed in English. Not only that, a ton of them, I believe, were stolen and mass distributed through Card House EU, I do believe. Last I heard, it was Rattle talking about that. But anyways, there's some crazy differences. The Pikachu and the Mewtwo came in a collector's tin in Japanese, so those are actually way cheaper in Japanese than they would be in English in general. But okay, we're going to keep moving on here. Let's put Kyogre back. Crazy deal on Kyogre. All right, let's get Metagross out. Here's my PSA 9 Metagross. I picked this guy up for $1,100 or maybe like $1,050. He's got a nice little swirl in the middle here, even though you guys probably can't see that swirl, which is a bummer. It's a really cool swirl. It's just very faint. It's in the darkest part of the card. Okay. Anyways, I got that Metagross for $1,100. PSA 10 Japanese first edition sold for $16.76. $570 more, and you would have had kind of a pristine, perfect card. Guys, this is just nuts. This is just nuts to me. Again, another PSA 10 card that would be like probably around $3,000 to $5,000 mark in English. Okay, then like I was talking about with the Gold Star Pikachu and the Gold Star Mewtwo being a part of the Japanese tin set, those are a little bit cheaper in Japanese. This one actually shocked me. And I knew better. I put in like a $300 bid because I just wanted to see. And there was a couple days where no one outbid me, and I was like, oh my god, could I possibly get Japanese Gold Star Mewtwo for dirt cheap because it was just way more produced from these tins. It didn't go for dirt cheap like I thought it would, but still went for dirt cheap in comparison to what I know right now. $13.50 is what the Gold Star Mewtwo ended at. Let's get that Gold Star Mewtwo. Where is he? Here he is. I have him in the front of my stack. Is honestly another one of my favorite Gold Stars in English. And even though it was more printed in Japanese, I wouldn't mind owning a 10 in Japanese. But here's my Gold Star Mewtwo for reference. That PSA 9 cost me $1,700. This PSA 10 in Japanese went for $13.50, guys. $13.50, and it was a grade higher. It went for $350 less and was a grade higher. So that's one of those cards that seems like a really, really good value to get in on that at a PSA 10. Seems like a no-brainer flip there. Again, all these are from Propstein except for this last one. Now, there were multiple of these Gold Star auctions. These are the ones that I put bids in on and lost, but I should have honestly I should have been putting all of them on my watch list or just putting a bid on all of them just to track and see. But I only tracked a couple of them, which is probably fine because we're out on time here. But last but not least, the Gold Star. I did put a bid on, I believe there was a Latias as well. But here's the Gold Star Latios in English. I think I picked that guy up for like $2,500 to $2,700. Not even a great deal because there was an auction for $2,200 not long ago. I think the average on that card is $2,400, so I definitely overpaid on that a little bit. It's all good. That's my own fault for jumping the gun on that card. But PSA 10 went for $500 to $700 less than what I paid. $2,000. So I have some friends that have been, now it's like 4 of them, that have been collecting crystals, gold stars in Japanese, exclusively in Japanese. This is becoming more of a trend right now. When stuff like this happens and it becomes more of a trend, that's a little scary to me. When everybody is kind of starting to do it, I don't know. I felt like the English market was inflated, but I understood why it was inflated because of print quality, because of low pops, because of the hype around the Western English market. I understood it. You know, I understood the hype. I don't agree with going in on these cards, especially if I think more of them are going to pop into the market at these prices. $2,000 for a PSA 10. It went for several $100s less than my PSA 9, and it's a PSA 10. With these prices being where they are, even if you wanted to go for PSA 9s, I would say it'd probably still be worth it because these are vintage grails. And you could probably get a really, really good deal on these, right? You could, in theory, complete a PSA 10 Japanese Gold Star collection for a fraction of the price in English outside of the play Umbreon and Espeon. And that means that a PSA 9, you could probably do it for like under 10 grand and complete the entire Gold Star set under 10 grand in Japanese, which would be sick. I don't mind the silver borders. Anyways, it's just these prices are crazy. Latios in a PSA 10, $2,000. This is the next wave of where I think a lot of collectors are going to be flooding into because it's just value and you get those grail cards and it's the exact same hollow print. It's the exact same quality, if not better. There's a lot of reasons to get in Japanese, but I think because this market has a lot of opportunities, there's going to be just as much buyers and sellers and flippers, which is going to make it harder for collectors to get in on cards like this. And maybe even influencers like myself on YouTube, little old Orion with less than 5,000 subs, influencing a huge population of people to buy gold stars. I just don't think that I would be a part of that equation. I think people might watch my videos, but I don't think people are taking it to heart and running out to going on eBay to immediately try and find these cards. And if you are, don't do that. Wait, be patient. More of these things are going to pop onto the market. In my opinion, that's what I believe. I don't think that this is just a super rare opportunity. I think that Japan is opening the floodgates for all of these rare cards to pop up onto the market. And I think people are jumping the gun thinking that like, wow, I found these amazing, incredible prices on PSA 10 Japanese Grails. I think there's going to be more of them coming. And that could definitely bring down the price of these in the market. Regardless, great value for your personal collection. It makes so much sense to go after these cards. And I would go after them too. Honestly, I would. Okay, let's see. The last card that I want to talk about here for the auctions of the week. So you guys know I'm completing my crystal set. It's behind me. I'm not going to bring those forward, but I am missing one card, the Crystal Celebi. So I lost an auction today. It went up to 2,680, and I just said, you know what? This isn't worth it. This thing's average is 2,800. I'm not paying the market average for these cards. One, I do agree with some of the bearish and naysayers of, you know, this market's still super inflated. It's still in a bubble. I believe that that's most likely still the case, and I think we have a lot more pain to go. But even cards that are extremely valuable like this and very rare, I am not going to pay market for a card like that. Celebi isn't even one of my like all-time favorite Pokemon, so it was even easier for me to sit out on this. I put in a bid of 2,400, which I felt to be very strong for a PSA 10 Crystal Celebi. It also had a really nasty little speck of dirt on the front of it, and I just said, you know what? My Nidoking, my Crystal Nidoking has one speck on it, and it drives me crazy. I just know me, and I know that I personally will avoid cards with any kind of dirt when they're encapsulated at all costs. But pretty nuts. Still holding up. The market is still holding up for cards like these. 2,700 pretty much for that Crystal Celebi. So you can get a PSA 9 for around 1,200 maybe to 1,400. It seems like the prices on the Crystal Celebi are moving up quite a bit. There's also an auction, kind of boring, but it was a theme deck, Team Rocket Returns theme deck. It went for $70, and I was given an offer for $45. I set an offer for $30. I really like theme decks. I'm almost done, baby. I really like theme decks. That's something that I confidently can collect and sell. Hi, Aspen. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Daddy's almost done.
Okay. I like you.
I love you, sweetheart.
I like you.
Yeah, so I lost the opportunity to get a theme deck for $45. I should have just taken up the offer. I know I could have sold it for at least twice that, sit on it for at least, 2 months or something like that. I've almost sold all the theme decks that I have on Mercari, so I'm getting very confident that if I actually put my foot down and really focus on theme decks again, that I could start selling those again. It's just like, this hobby, this is the reason I haven't gotten into any other TCGs. There's too much to do in this hobby. Game Boy memorabilia and nostalgia, theme decks, modern, vintage, grails, alternate art chase cards. I mean, it's just like, and then keeping up with the sets as they come out. I am trying to do it all in this hobby, and it just seems impossible. Anyways, it was nice talking about these auctions. Tomorrow, we'll have a very special video. Tomorrow, we will be going over one of my ultimate grail cards. I know, I just did a video on this a couple days ago, but I actually got these cards in unison as a team, but I did not want to, out of respect for the Pokemon themselves and the artwork and just the rarity and the value, I wanted to space them out and give them their own videos. So I'm really excited. Tomorrow could go either way. We'll either do a mystery mail day video with a card where I honestly don't know what we're going to be talking about, but it'll be something hype, or we will talk about one of the other grail cards that I just picked up recently that I'm very excited to talk about. So that'll be a fun, simple kind of hype video, I guess, tomorrow. Anyways, peace out, guys. Let me know what you think about vintage Japanese cards right now. Is that market just going to continue booming? Is it really going to become the next best thing to English with the pricing and the value you get, and the opportunity to get cards like the Gold Stars and a PSA 10 and get them for way cheaper than you would get them in English? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what Japanese products you're shopping with. Let me know what you're buying. I'm sure a lot of people are buying modern Japanese booster boxes. You know exactly who I'm talking about. All right. Peace out, guys. Have a fantastic night. Let me know what you think about the video.